Hey guys, tonight we dive into a chilling tale from the misty edges of the Viking world, where fierce Norsemen, those unstoppable raiders of the seas, met something that actually made them pause and shiver in their fur-lined boots. Imagine yourself huddled by a crackling fire in a longhouse, the wind howling outside like a pack of wolves, as an old skald leans in, his voice a low rumble, spinning yarns of a forgotten tribe whose near whisper could send shivers down the spine of the bravest warrior. You feel the chill creep up your arms as shadows dance on the timber walls, and the scent of pine smoke fills the air, mixing with the salty tang of the sea that clings to everyone's cloaks. These people from a distant northern land wielded powers that turned Viking axes into trembling stick spores of enchantment, illusion, and secrets buried in the frozen earth. You probably won't believe how these shadowy figures, lurking beyond the known maps, could terrify the very folks who conquered half of Europe without breaking a sweat. So before you continue listening to my story, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel so I know you're still listening along with me. Now picture this. You're one of those hardy Vikings, your lone ship slicing through icy waves under a sky that's more gray than blue. The kind of endless twilight that makes you question if the sun's playing hide and seek just to mess with you. You've heard the tales around the mead benches, whispers of Bjarmeland, that elusive realm far to the northeast, where the white sea crashes against shores lined with endless forests and rivers teeming with silver fish. It's not just any land, it's a place where the air hums with mystery, where the northern lights twist like serpents in the night sky, painting the snow in eerie greens and purples. You grip your oar tighter, your calloused hands numb from the cold spray as your shipmates mutter about the inhabitants of Bjarmians, a tribe so forgotten by time that even their name echoes like a half-remembered dream. These Bjarmians aren't your typical foes with swords and shields. Oh no? There's something far more unsettling. You hear the stories of their enchanted ways, how they command the winds to howl warnings or summon illusions that make raiders see armies of ghosts rising from the mist. It's the kind of power that makes you, the fearless Norseman, double-check your amulets and runes before setting foot on their turf. Imagine trudging through knee-deep snow, your breath fogging the air like dragon smoke, and suddenly the trees seem to whisper secrets in a tongue that's both familiar and utterly alien. The Bjarmians live in harmony with this harsh wilderness. Their village is nestled along the great river Dvina, where the water runs cold and clear, carrying tales from the heart of the frozen north. As you listen to these whispers in the hall, you can't help but chuckle softly at the irony. Here you are, descendants of Odin, who outsmarted giants and gods alike, yet quaking at the thought of folks who might just be really good at herbal tricks or mind games. It's like that one friend who swears their grandma's stew has magical healing powers, but deep down, you know it's just the extra garlic. But seriously, these Bjarmians had a reputation that preceded them, built on centuries of Viking encounters that blended awe with outright terror. Mainstream history tells us that Bjarmeland was a real trading hub during the Viking Age, mentioned in sagas as a source of luxurious furs, walrus ivory, and amber that fetched fortunes in southern markets. Think of it as the medieval equivalent of a high-end boutique, but with more blizzards and fewer lattes. Yet, woven into these accounts are quirkier bits that make you raise an eyebrow, like the legend of their god Jamali, whose massive idol in a sacred grove was said to guard treasures with a voice that could shatter the night. Rabbit, and you'd hear a scream that wasn't quite human, echoing through the woods like a bad karaoke night gone supernatural. Okay, maybe not karaoke, but you get the vibe. That spine-tingling wail that sends birds fleeing and warriors rethinking their life choices. And here's where it gets debatable. Scholars still argue over who these Bjarmians truly were they Athenic people, kin to the Sami with their shamanic roots, or perhaps Permian tribes from deeper in the taiga, their identity lost in the fog of time like a sock in a dryer. You lean closer to the fire, feeling its warmth seep into your bones, chasing away the imagined chill of those northern shores. The skald's voice drops lower, almost a murmur, as he describes how even the mightiest Viking chieftains approached Bjarmeland with caution, their longships hugging the coastlines rather than charging in boldly. You smell the damp earth and pine resin in your mind, hear the creak of ship timbers as waves lap against the hull, and taste the salt on your lips from the sea's relentless kiss. It's a land where the veil between worlds feels thin, where spirits might wander freely under the midnight sun, and where the Bjarmian's knowledge of herbs, runes, and rituals could bend reality just enough to make you doubt your own eyes. In these whispers, you sense the fear isn't just about sorcery, it's the unknown, the vast emptiness of the north that swallows ships whole. You picture yourself standing on a rocky outcrop, gazing across the white sea, where ice floes drift like ghostly sentinels, and the horizon blurs into infinity. The Bjarmians, with their fur-clad forms emerging from the tree line, eyes sharp as eagle talons, seem to embody that wild unpredictability. One modern aside, it's funny how we romanticize Vikings as invincible, but toss in a bit of mysticism from a forgotten tribe, and suddenly they're checking under their beds for enchanted trolls. Lightens the mood, doesn't it? Like imagining Thor himself getting spooked by a particularly crafty squirrel. As the tales unfold, you feel a gentle pull, like the tide drawing you northward, toward encounters that blur the line between legend and lore. The enchanted inhabitants of Bjarmeland aren't mere myths. They're the shadows that loomed large in Viking minds, reminding even the boldest that some powers defy the swing of an axe. You shift on your bench, the fire popping softly as the skald pauses, letting the silence build like a gathering storm. The air grows heavier with anticipation, the scent of mead lingering sweetly, and you wonder what horrors or wonder sought in those distant lands. But hold on, because these whispers are just the beginning. You can almost hear the faint chants carried on the wind, the rhythmic drumming that echoes from hidden groves, making your heart beat a little faster. The Bjarmians' terror wasn't in brute force, it was in the subtle arts, the way they wove spells into everyday life, turning the natural world into an ally against intruders. Imagine sneaking through their forests, branches snagging at your cloak like accusing fingers, and suddenly a fog rolls in so thick you can't see your own hand. Coincidence, or something more? Scholars debate if this was shamanic practice or clever guerrilla tactics, but either way it worked wonders on Viking psyches. You chuckle quietly at the thought of a burly raider, beard braided and axe gleaming, fleeing from what might have been a well-placed echo or a hallucinogenic mushroom slipped into his ration stock about a bad trip without the modern baggage fees. Yet, beneath the sarcasm, there's a sleepy comfort in these stories, the ASMR-like cadence of the skull's voice lulling you into a trance, where history feels alive and breathing. The mainstream fact stands firm. Norse sagas document Bjarmeland as a key northern territory, explored and exploited from the 9th century onward, its wealth drawing adventurers like moths to a flame. And that quirky tidbit, whispers speak of Bjarmian shamans who could shape-shift into animals, slipping through the underbrush as wolves or ravens, spying on Viking camps. Imagine waking up to find your plans foiled by a bird that seemed a tad too intelligent. As for the debate, experts still ponder if the Bjarmians were a distinct ethnic group or a mosaic of tribes, their true origins as elusive as the aurora itself. You yawn softly, the fire's glow fading to embers. As the whispers pull you deeper into the night, you feel the longship rock gently beneath you, the wooden planks creaking like old bones as the oars dip into the frigid waters, pulling you further into the unknown. The whispers from the hall fade into the distance, replaced by the rhythmic splash and the distant cry of seabirds wheeling overhead, their wings cutting through the mist like fleeting shadows. You're no longer just a listener by the fire. Now, you're part of the voyage, standing shoulder to shoulder with Othir, that bold Norwegian chieftain whose name echoes through the sagas as the first to chart these perilous northern routes. The air tastes sharper here, laced with the brine of the sea and the faint, earthy promise of land beyond the horizon, where the waves of the Norwegian Sea give way to the even colder embrace of the White Sea. Othir isn't your average raider out for quick plunder. He's an explorer at heart, driven by curiosity and the lure of untapped riches. His eyes scanning the endless gray expanse with a mix of determination and quiet awe. You grip the rail, your fingers numb from the chill, as he steers the vessel northward, past the rugged fjords of home and into waters where the sun hangs low, casting long, eerie reflections that dance like elusive spirits. It's the late ninth century, and Othir's journey, documented in the court of King Alfred the Great, marks one of the earliest recorded Viking forays into these remote territories, a mainstream historical fact that anchors these tales in reality, showing how Norse expansion wasn't just about conquest but about mapping the edges of the world. As the ship presses on, you hear the crew murmuring, their voices a soft hum against the wind's whisper, sharing half-believed stories of what awaits. Bjarmeland isn't a myth to Othir, it's a destination he's pursued with the stubbornness of a man chasing a dream. You imagine him at the prow, his beard flecked with salt, recounting later how he sailed for days without sight of land, only the stars and his instincts to guide him. The voyage feels endless, the kind where time stretches like taffy, and you start to wonder if the sea itself is playing tricks, swallowing the hours in its vast, indifferent maw. A gentle sarcasm creeps in as you think about it. There's this Viking, basically the original adventure blogger, jotting down notes for a king who's more into books than boats, turning a risky sail into historical homework. Suddenly, the coastline emerges from the fog, a jagged line of dark pines and rocky shores that seem to breathe with hidden life. You lean forward, heart quickening, as Othir signals to drop anchor in a sheltered bay, the water so clear you can see schools of fish darting like silver arrows below. This is where the first encounters happen, tentative at first, like two strangers sizing each other up at a dimly lit tavern. The Bjarmians appear from the tree line, their forms bundled in thick furs, reindeer hides, and sealskins that blend seamlessly with the landscape, making them look like extensions of the forest itself. You watch as Othir approaches, his hand raised in peace, trading words in a pidgin tongue mixed with gestures, the air thick with the scent of smoked fish, and resinous with smoke from their fires. These initial meetings aren't clashes of steel but exchanges of goods, walrus tusks, luxurious pelts of sable, and fox that feel softer than a lover's whisper against your skin, and in return, Othir offers iron tools, beads of colored glass, and woven cloth from distant looms. You feel the weight of a fur bundle in your arms, its warmth chasing away the perpetual chill, and you can't help but marvel at how these forgotten people have mastered survival in a land that would chew up lesser folk and spit out their bones. It's quirky, almost fringe, how the sagas hint at Bjarmian shamans using bird bones for divination during these trades, rattling them in pouches to predict fair deals or foul weather, like a medieval version of checking the weather app, but with more feathers and mysticism. Yet, beneath the barter, there's an undercurrent of unease. You notice how the Bjarmian's eyes flick to the shadows, as if expecting something unseen to stir, and Othir senses it too, his posture shifting from traitor to watchful guardian. Scholars debate whether these early contacts were purely commercial or laced with subtle threats, pondering if Othir's account glosses over tensions that simmered like a pot about to boil over. Was it mutual respect, or did the Bjarmians' reputed sorcery already cast a long shadow, making even this intrepid explorer tread lightly? The sun dips lower, painting the sky in hues of bruised purple and fading gold, and you huddle around a shared fire on the beach, the flames crackling softly, sending sparks upward like tiny stars escaping to the heavens. Othir shares mead from a horn, its honeyed warmth spreading through your veins, loosening tongues, and easing the fatigue of the journey. You chuckle inwardly at the Cena Vikings, those poster boys for toughness, swapping stories with folks who probably think axes are for chopping wood, not heads. It's like an awkward family reunion where everyone's polite but secretly wondering who's hiding the weird uncle in the attic. As night falls, the northern lights begin their lazy dance, ribbons of green unfurling across the velvet black, and you lie back on the pebbled shore, the ground cool and unyielding beneath you. The Bjarmians retreat to their dwellings, simple structures of turf and timber that blend into the hillsides, almost invisible unless you know where to look. You hear faint chants drifting on the breeze, rhythmic and soothing, like a lullaby from another world, and it lulls you into a drowsy haze. Othir's daring has opened this portal, but you sense the terror lurking just out of reach, kind that doesn't announce itself with roars, but creeps in silently, like frost claiming a window pane. In these quiet hours you reflect on how one man's voyage bridged worlds, yet sowed the seeds of fear that would grow into legends. The mainstream threads weave Othir into the tapestry of exploration, his report to Alfred offering a rare window into Viking geography. That quirky bit lingers, those bone rattles foretelling fates, a fringe element that adds spice to the scholarly soup, and the debate rumbles on. Did Othir exaggerate the perils to impress his royal listener? Or was the Bjarmian whisper already enough to unsettle? You stir as dawn creeps in, the light soft and diffused, birds calling you back to the ship. The voyage isn't done, more waters beckon, more encounters await, each one building on this first tentative step. The sea murmurs its secrets as you push off, the oars slicing cleanly, carrying you deeper into the heart of mystery. Feel that gentle pull like static before a storm, drawing you onward. The waves lap rhythmically, a soothing pulse that matches your breathing, and you drift, eyes heavy, into the unfolding saga. The ship glides smoothly now, the initial trepidation from Othir's first sightings giving way to a steady rhythm as you venture deeper along the trade routes that snake through the northern wilderness. The water beneath you turns a deeper blue, flecked with foam that catches the weak sunlight like scattered jewels, and the air carries the rich, loamy scent of untouched forests stretching endlessly inland. You're tracing paths etched by generations of traders, where the promise of wealth outweighs the whispers of danger, drawing Vikings like you to Bjarmaland's shores not just for glory, but for the tangible treasures that could fill a longship's hold and line a chieftain's hall with opulence. Feel the weight of anticipation in your chest as you navigate these bountiful routes, rivers like the Venus serving as highways into the heart of the land, their banks lined with birch and pine that rustle softly in the breeze, almost like they're sharing secrets. The trade isn't haphazard, it's a network honed over centuries, connecting the frozen north to the bustling markets of Scandinavia and beyond, where furs from Bjarmaland fetch prices that could ransom a king. You imagine unloading crates in a southern port, the pelts of sable, ermine, and marten spilling out in luxurious waves, their softness against your skin a stark contrast to the rough wool of your tunic. It's this wealth that lures you, the kind that turns a simple voyage into a fortune-building expedition, with walrus ivory carved into combs and amulets that gleam like polished bone under torchlight. As you push further upriver, the landscape unfolds in layers of green and white, snow-capped hills giving way to meadows where wild berries cluster like hidden rubies. The Bjarmians emerge again, this time in greater numbers, their canoes skimming the water with effortless grace, laden with goods that make your eyes widen. You barter, under the open sky, the sun warming your face just enough to thaw the perpetual chill, exchanging your axes and beads for bundles of furs so dense they seem to trap the warmth of the animals that once wore them. Mainstream history records these exchanges as vital to the Viking economy, with sagas detailing how Bjarmaland's resources fueled trade from the 9th to the 11th centuries, linking the Norse world to the Volga trade routes and even the distant Byzantine Empire. Think of it as the original supply chain, minus the tracking numbers and overnight delivery. But oh, the quirky side of it all, legends whisper of Bjarmian honey that never spoils, harvested from bees that nest in enchanted hollows, said to grant visions when mixed with meta-imagined sipping that, and suddenly seeing your future raids play out like a hazy dream sequence, complete with plot twists you didn't see coming. You chuckle softly at the thought, picturing a Viking chugging it down and then stumbling around claiming he saw Odin's ravens delivering pizzocche, maybe not pizza, but you catch the drift. That blend of sustenance and superstition adding flavor to the fur trade. Scholars still debate whether these routes were dominated by peaceful commerce or shadowed by underlying coercion, questioning if the Vikings' presence was welcomed or merely tolerated under the threat of raids. You sense that tension in the air, like a string pulled taut, as Bjarmian traders eye your weapons with wary glances, their voices low and melodic in a language that flows like the river itself. The shores teem with leafy otters slipping into the water with barely a ripple, eagles soaring overhead on thermal drafts, their cries piercing the quiet like distant warnings. You trail your hand in the current, feeling its icy pull, and taste the freshness on your fingertips, a reminder of how this land's abundance sustains its people through endless winters. Deeper inland, the forests thicken, sunlight filtering through the canopy in golden shafts that dance on the forest floor like playful spirits. You trek along paths worn by countless feet, the ground soft with fallen needles that muffle your steps, carrying sacks of amber collected from these very shores resin hardened into glowing orbs that capture the light like trapped fireflies. The wealth isn't just in furs, it's in the ivory tusks that clink together like wind chimes, promising carvings fit for gods or gifts to curry favor with Jarls back home. You pause by a stream, the water gurgling over smooth stones, and scoop a handful to drink, its crispness awakening your senses amid the drowsy hum of insects. A modern aside slips in. It's amusing how these ancient traders were basically the influencers of their day, hyping up northern luxuries to southern buyers, turning a beaver pelt into the must-have accessory for coats before they were a fashion statement, or a fox paws, depending on your era. The trade routes pulse with energy, canoes and sleds in winter forming a web that spans from the White Sea to the heart of the taiga, where Bjarmians harvest pelts with traps so clever they seem almost alive, baited with scents that lure animals from miles away. You join a gathering at a riverside camp, flames flickering in a stone-ringed pit, casting warm glows on faces etched with lines from harsh seasons. Stories flow with the mead, tales of bountiful hunts where the forests yield without end, and you feel the pull of this life, simple yet rich, far from the blood-soaked battlefields you know. The firs pile high, their scents earthy and wild, mingling with the smoke that curls lazily upward, lulling you into a comfortable haze. Yet, beneath it, that subtle fear lingers, knowledge that this wealth is guarded not just by men, but by the land's own mysteries, powers that could turn fortune to folly in a heartbeat. As evening deepens, the sky shifts to a canvas of deepening blues, stars pricking through like distant campfires. You lie back on a bed of moss, the ground yielding softly, and let the river's murmur wash over you, a gentle cadence that soothes the day's exertions. The Corky honey legend tickles your mind again, imagining a Bjarmian elder offering a taste, eyes twinkling with mischief. All you see, riches or regrets, lightens the load, doesn't it? Like finding a forgotten coin in your pocket during a long journey. The mainstream fact holds, these northern riches integrated into global trade networks, with archaeological finds of Bjarmian goods in Viking graves affirming the economic ties. And that debate persists. Were the Bjarmians equal partners or exploited locals, their wealth a magnet for both opportunity and oppression? You drift, the forest sounds fading to whispers, as the roots beckon onward, promising more unveilings in this fur-laden realm. The night air cools, wrapping around you like a soft blanket, and you surrender to the sleepy rhythm, eyes heavy with the weight of wonders yet to come. The river's gentle current fades behind you as you step onto the frost-crusted soil of Bjarmland, the air thick with the scent of pine and something sharper, like the tang of secrets carried on the wind. You're no longer just a trader bartering for furs. Now you're treading deeper into a realm where the natural and the supernatural blur, where the Bjarmians wield powers that make even the boldest Viking clutch their hammer pendant a little tighter. The forest looms around you, trees standing like silent sentinels, their branches heavy with snow that falls in soft clumps, dusting your cloak as you push forward. The northern lights flicker faintly above, casting an eerie glow that makes the shadows dance, as if the woods themselves are alive, whispering tales of sorcery that could unravel a warrior's courage. You move cautiously, your boots crunching through the icy crust, each step echoing in the stillness like a challenge to unseen watchers. The Bjarmian's reputation for enchantment isn't just campfire gossip. It's a force that lingers in the air, heavy as the fog that rolls in from the river. You hear stories from your shipmates, their voices low and reverent, about shamans who weave spells with chants that hum like bees, their words bending the wind or conjuring visions that lead raiders astray. Imagine walking this path, the cold biting your cheeks, and suddenly the trail vanishes, replaced by a shimmering mirage of endless snow. Did the ground shift? Or did the Bjarmians play a trick on your mind? It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder if you forgot to pack your common sense alongside your shield. Mainstream history nods to these tales through Norse sagas, which describe Bjarmaland as a place of not just wealth but mystical power, with accounts from the 10th century hinting at rituals that awed or unnerved Viking visitors. Think of it as the medieval equivalent of stumbling into a place where the Wi-Fi signal is strong. But the vibes are seriously weird. The sagas mention ceremonies held in sacred groves, where the Bjarmians honored their gods with offerings of honey and carved bones, their chants rising like smoke to mingle with the aurora's glow. You picture yourself standing at the edge of such a grove, the air thick with the scent of burning herbs, sweet and sharp, as figures in fur-lined hoods move in rhythmic patterns. Their movements fluid yet deliberate, like a dance that speaks to forces beyond your ken. But here's the quirky bit that makes you smirk, even as a shiver runs down your spine. Some tales claim the Bjarmians could summon fog so dense it swallowed entire fleets, leaving Viking ships drifting in circles while ghostly voices echoed from nowhere. It's like they had a medieval smoke machine and a surround sound system, staging the ultimate prank on invaders. Imagine a longship crew, tough as nails, freaking out because they swear they heard their own names whispered in the mist. You chuckle softly, picturing a grizzled warrior muttering, "Okay, that's just rude," as he swings his axe at nothing but vapor. Scholars still debate how much of this sorcery was real magic versus clever psychological warfare, pondering whether the Bjarmians used natural phenomena like sudden fogs or echoes in the fjords to amplify their mystique. Did they lace campfires with herbs that caused hallucinations? Or was their power in knowing the land so well they could vanish like ghosts? You feel the weight of that question as you tread deeper into the forest, the trees closing in, their branches brushing your shoulders like cautious fingers. The ground is uneven, roots hidden under snow waiting to trip the unwary, and you taste the faint metallic edge of frost on your tongue, a reminder of how this land demands respect. You pause by a frozen stream, its surface a mirror reflecting the sky's ghostly lights, and notice faint carvings on nearby trees, runes or symbols, perhaps their meanings lost to you but pulsing with intent. The Bjarmians, you realize, don't need swords to terrify. Their power lies in the unseen, the way they make the familiar feel alien. You imagine a shaman standing before you, eyes sharp as flint, offering a cup of that enchanted honey mead, its golden surface catching the firelight. Would you drink, risking visions of spirits or just a really bad headache? It's a gamble like betting your last coin on a horse race run by ravens. The forest grows quieter, the wind dropping to a hush, as if the land itself holds its breath. You hear a distant drumbeat, slow and steady, like a heartbeat echoing from the earth's core, and it pulls you forward, deeper into the sacred heart of Bjarmaland. The air feels charged, like the moment before a lightning strike, and you wonder if the terror comes not from spells, but from the Bjarmians' unity with this wild place, their ability to make it an extension of their will. A modern aside slips in. It's almost funny how we'd call this eco-friendly warfare today, like they were the original tree huggers who just happened to scare the pants off Vikings with a well-timed fog bank. As night deepens, you find a clearing where a small fire burns, tended by a lone figure wrapped in furs, their face half hidden by a hood. They don't speak, but their presence is enough to make you hesitate, your hand resting on your dagger's hilt. The flames crackle softly, casting shadows that twist into shapes wolves, ravens, or maybe just your imagination running wild. You sit, the warmth seeping into your bones, and let the silence wrap around you like a blanket, the drumbeat fading into a soothing rhythm that lulls your senses. The mainstream fact holds. The sub is confirmed Bjarmeland's mystical aura, with rituals that left lasting impressions on Norse chroniclers. That quirky fog-summoning tale adds a layer of intrigue, hinting at a people who mastered their environment in ways that seemed supernatural. And the debate lingers. Were these displays of power rooted in shamanic tradition or tactical genius? A question as slippery as the ice beneath your feet. You lean back, the stars above sharp as pinpricks, and feel the land's pulse beneath you, a gentle reminder that some mysteries don't need solving to hold sway. The fire's glow softens, and your eyelids grow heavy, the whispers of sorcery blending with the night's embrace, pulling you toward dreams of what lies ahead. You stand on the deck of a Viking longship, the wood slick with spray as the vessel cuts through the choppy waves of the White Sea. They are sharp with salt and the promise of plunder. The forest-lined shores of Bjarmeland loom closer, their dark silhouettes jagged against a sky streaked with fading pinks, like a wound slowly healing. You're no longer just an observer of trade routes or mystic whispers. Now you're part of a raid, the kind that makes your blood hum with equal parts thrill and dread. The oarsmen row in grim silence, their breaths puffing out in frosty clouds, while the chieftain, a grizzled bear of a man named Thorir, barks orders, his eyes fixed on a sacred Bjarmian site nestled deep in the woods, a grove said to house treasures that glitter like stars fallen to earth. The ship scrapes ashore, and you leap onto the pebbled beach, the crunch under your boots loud in the pre-dawn hush. You feel the weight of your axe, its handle worn smooth by years of use, and the cold bites your knuckles as you follow Thorir's crew inland. The path winds through dense pines, their needles brushing your face like ghostly fingers, and the scent of resin mixes with the damp earth, grounding you even as your heart races. Mainstream history tells us these raids were real, with sagas like the Heimskringla detailing Viking assaults on Bjarmian settlements in the 10th century, targeting not just furs but sacred hordes guarded by the tribe's spiritual leader. Think of it as hitting the jackpot in a temple, except the slot machine might curse you. As you push deeper, the forest grows denser, the air thick with an unnatural stillness, like the world holding its breath. You've heard the tales. These groves aren't just holy, they're traps woven with enchantments. The Bjarmians don't meet you with spears but with something far worse, illusions that twist the trees into looming shapes, shadows that move against the wind. You pause, squinting through the gloom, and swear you see a figure dark between trunks, too swift to be human. Your crewmate mutters a prayer to Thor, and you can't help but smirk. You are Vikings who faced storms and Saxons, spooked by what might just be a fox with great timing. Like, come on, is it sorcery, or just nature's equivalent of a jump scare? But the quirky tidbit lingers, tickling your thoughts. Some sagas claim the Bjarmians laced their sacred sites with trap-shitten pits lined with sharpened stakes or ropes rigged to drop heavy branches. Picture stumbling into one, your swagger gone as you're dangling upside down like a rabbit in a snare, your crew laughing until they realize their necks. It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder if the Bjarmians were less about magic and more about being the medieval equivalent of prankster engineers, turning their groves into obstacle courses for greedy Norsemen. Scholars debate whether these raids were bold grabs for wealth or desperate acts driven by the Bjarmians' growing resistance, questioning if the Vikings underestimated their foes' cunning. You feel that uncertainty now, the forest pressing in, each snap of a twig making your pulse jump. The grove comes into view, a clearing ringed by ancient oaks, their gnarled branches woven like a crown around a massive stone over. Piles of firs, ivory, and amber gleam in the torchlight. But it's the air that stops you cold, heavy with the scent of burnt herbs and something sweeter, like honey gone sour. You grip your axe tighter, sensing eyes watching from the darkness, and seeing but ever present. Thor signals to advance, and you creep forward. The ground soft underfoot, almost as soft like it's hiding something. You imagine the Bjarmians watching, their shamans chanting softly from hidden perches, weaving spells or maybe just smoke screens that make your vision blur. One warrior swings at a shadow, cursing as his blade bites nothing but air, and you stifle a chuckle, thinking of modern haunted houses where the scares are all mirrors and sound effects. Yet, the fear is real. Your skin prickles as a low hum rises, like a chorus of unseen voices vibrating through the earth. You reach the altar, its surface carved with symbols that twist under your gaze, defying kneading. A golden bowl sits at its center, filled with amber beads that glow like embers, tempting you to reach out. But then a scream not human, but sharp, like metal on stone cuts through the night, and your crew freezes. The shadows shift, and for a moment, you swear the trees lean closer, their branches clawing at the sky. Thor growls to press on, but you hesitate, tasting the acrid edge of fear on your tongue, the kind that makes you question if greed is worth this gamble. The raid falters as fog rolls in sudden and thick, swallowing the grove like a living thing. You hear footsteps retreating, your crew scattering, their torches dimming to pinpricks in the haze. You stumble back, heart pounding, the altar's glow fading as if it never was. A modern aside. It's almost comical how these tough Vikings got played by what might have been a well-timed weather shift nature's ultimate psyche moment. But in the moment, it's all too real, the forest a maze where every path loops back on itself. You regroup at the shore, the ship a welcome sight, its hull solid against the chaos of the night. The crew's shaken, muttering about curses and vengeful spirits, but Thor is already planning the next move, his eyes glinting with defiance. The mainstream fact anchors you. These raids were risky, often returning with less than expected, as Viking ambition met Bjarmian ingenuity. That quirky trap legend adds spice, suggesting a people who fought smarter, not harder. And the debate persists. Were these failures due to supernatural forces or simply the Bjarmians' mastery of their land? You slump against the ship's rail, the waves lapping softly, their rhythm soothing your frayed nerves. The sky clears, stars sharp above, and you let the sea's murmur pull you into a calmer state, the raid's chaos fading like a bad dream. Your eyelids droop, the night's chill wrapping you gently, as the promise of more clashes whispers on the horizon. The salt-stung air clings to your skin as you stand on the shore, the echoes of the failed raid still ringing in your ears like a distant drum. The longship bobs gently behind you, its timbers creaking in rhythm with the waves, but your eyes are drawn inland, where the forest looms, dark and unyielding, hiding the sacred grove you barely escaped. The memory of that unnatural fog and the scream that wasn't quite human lingers, making your fingers twitch toward your axe, even now safe by the water's edge. You're not fleeing yet. Thor's crew is regrouping, their faces etched with defiance, and unease, but the heart of this tale pulls you back to that grove, to the Bjarmians' most revered guardian, Jamali, their god, whose idol stands silent yet terrifying, a sentinel of stone and mystery that even Vikings hesitate to challenge. You trudged back toward the grove, not as a raider now, but as a wary observer, your boots sinking into the snow-dusted earth, each step heavy with the weight of what you're about to face. The air grows colder, sharper, carrying the scent of moss and something ancient, like the breath of the earth itself. The trees part to reveal the clearing again, and there it is, Jamali's idol, towering over the altar, carved from dark wood or stone. Accounts vary its surface worn smooth by time, yet its eyes, inlaid with amber, seem to follow you, glinting like they hold secrets you're not meant to know. You feel the hairs on your neck rise, the silence around the idol so profound it's like the world is holding its breath. Mainstream history confirms Jamali's presence in the sagas, particularly in accounts like the saga of Olaf Haraldsson, where Vikings describe a massive idol in a Bjarmian sacred grove, surrounded by offerings of gold and furs, a focal point of reverence that doubled as a treasure vault. Think of it as a divine piggyback. but one that might smite you for trying to crack it open. You circle the idol cautiously, the ground beneath you littered with small bones and polished stones, offerings left by those seeking favor or forgiveness. The air hums faintly, a vibration you feel in your chest, and you wonder if it's the wind or something older, stirring in response to your presence. The quirky tidbit that makes you smirk, despite the chill, comes from a lesser-known tale. They say Jamali's idol could speak, a voice like thunder that stopped raiders in their tracks, some claiming it cursed thieves with madness or sent animals to harry them through the woods. Picture a Viking, axe raised, ready to loot, only to hear a booming "Not today, pal." Okay, maybe not that exact phrase, but you get the vibe. Like the statue's got a built-in alarm system crafted by a very clever shaman. You chuckle softly, imagining the look on Thor's face if a squirrel suddenly charged him, chittering like it was possessed. Scholars debate whether this voice was a genuine spiritual phenomenon or a trick, perhaps a hidden priest using acoustics, like a medieval ventriloquist, to scare off intruders. You kneel by the altar, running your fingers over its carvings, their grooves cold and precise, and notice how the surrounding trees form a natural amphitheater, amplifying every sound. A twig snaps behind you, and you spin, heart racing, only to see a deer melt back into the shadows. Your pulse slows, but the unease lingers, the idol's gaze heavy, as if it's judging your every thought. You taste the faint sweetness of lingering honey in the air, perhaps from an offering, and it grounds you, a reminder of the Bjarmians' deep connection to their land and its spirits. You step back, the clearing bathed in the pale light of a rising moon, its glow softening Jamali's stern features. You imagine the chaos of a raid of Vikings emboldened by greed charging in, only to falter as that unearthly voice erupts, or as shadows twist into shapes that aren't there. One saga tells of a raider who struck the idol, only to be found days later wandering, babbling about wolves with human eyes. You shake your head, half laughing at the thought modern horror movies have nothing on these old tales, where a single statue could send a whole crew running like kids spooked by a campfire story. Yet, the power feels real, woven into the very earth. You notice tracks around the grove, not human but animal, wolf, bear, or something else is circling the idol like guardians. The Bjarmians don't need armies, they have the land, the spirits, and Jamali's silent watch. A modern aside slips in. It's almost funny how we'd call this a haunted hotspot today, the kind of place ghost hunters would flock to with cameras, hoping to catch a disembodied girl, except here, the stakes were real, and the consequences weren't just bad Yelp reviews. You sit by the altar, the cold seeping through your cloak, and let the quiet envelop you. The idol looms, unchanging, its amber eyes catching the moonlight, and you feel a strange calm, like the grove is letting you stay, just for now. The mainstream fact anchors the scene. Jamali was central to Bjarmian worship, a deity tied to their survival in this harsh land. That quirky speaking idol adds a layer of intrigue, hinting at a culture that mastered fear as much as trade. And the debate persists. Was Jamali's voice divine, or a clever ruse to protect sacred treasures? The night deepens, the air growing still, and you lie back on the frozen ground, the stars above sharp and distant, like scattered coins from a god's purse. The grove's hum fades to a gentle pulse matching your slowing breath, and you feel the weight of history settling over you, soft as snow. The idol watches, silent now as the world slips into a drowsy hush, pulling you toward dreams of battles yet to come. The dawn breaks over Bjarmland, a pale light filtering through the canopy, painting the snow in soft golds as you shake off the grove's eerie spell and trudge back to the shore. The longship waits, its dragon prow cutting a stark silhouette against the shimmering white sea, but the air hums with a new tension, not just the lingering dread of Jamali's gaze, but the weight of repeated encounters between Vikings and Bjarmians. You're no longer just a reader or a witness to sacred mysteries. Now, you're caught in the tangled dance of clashes and alliances, where every step could lead to bloodshed or uneasy peace. The scent of damp wood and seaweed fills your lungs, grounding you as you join Thor's crew, their faces etched with the strain of men who've seen both treasure and terror. You march inland again, this time not toward a grove but a Bjarmian settlement, a cluster of turf-roofed huts nestled along the river bank, smoke curling lazily from their hearths. The Bjarmians watch your approach, their figures still as statues, hands resting on spears or hidden blades, their eyes sharp with the wariness of a people who've learned to expect trouble. You feel the weight of their gaze, like a cold blade pressed to your neck, and yet Thor strides forward, his voice booming with offers of truce, his hands empty but his men poised behind him. The mainstream history here is clear. Sagas like the Orkney in the saga document Viking interactions with Bjarmeland as a mix of raids and reluctant partnerships, with some Norsemen forging trade deals to avoid the costly battles that sacred sites like Jamali's Grove provoke. Think of it as choosing diplomacy over a bar fight, but with higher stakes and worse ale. The air crackles with the possibility of violence, but a Bjarmian elder steps forward, her fur-lined cloak sweeping the ground, her voice steady as she gestures to a fire pit for talks. You sit, the warmth of the flames chasing the chill from your fingers, and taste the sharp tang of smoked fish offered as a gesture of goodwill. The negotiations are tense, words traded like blows, but there's a rhythm to it, a push and pull that feels almost alive. You notice the Bjarmians' children watching from the shadows, their eyes wide, and you can't help but smirk. Imagine being a kid here, thinking these bearded invaders look like grumpy walruses with axes. It's a fleeting likeness, like finding a sunny patch in a storm. But the quirky tidbit that sticks with you is stranger. Some accounts whisper of Bjarmian women who fought alongside their men, wielding bows with uncanny precision or chanting curses that sapped Viking strength, like a medieval version of psychological warfare with a side of archery. Picture a Viking, all bravado, suddenly stumbling mid-charge, convinced his legs are betraying him because a woman's song pierced the air. Talk about a bad day at the office. You chuckle softly, imagining forward dodging arrows while muttering about unfair tactics, as if fairness ever applied to raiding. Scholars debate whether these alliances were born of mutual benefit or necessity, questioning if the Bjarmians traded to appease Viking greed or to buy time for stronger defenses. You sense that complexity now, watching the elder's hands move in precise gestures, her words measured but firm, offering furs and ivory in exchange for iron and peace. The river gurgles nearby, its waters reflecting the sky's shifting hues, and you feel the land itself mediating, its presence a silent partner in these talks. The Bjarmians know every bend of this river, every hidden path through the forest, and you realize their strength isn't just in numbers but in their bond with this wild place. The talks stretch into the afternoon, the sun climbing higher, its light glinting off the snow like scattered coins. You lean against a hut's timber wall, the wood rough under your palm, and listen to the hum of voices, the occasional laugh breaking the tension like a crack in ice. The Bjarmians offer mead, its honeyed warmth spreading through you, and for a moment, the divide narrows, enemies sharing a drink, bound by the universal language of survival. A modern aside creeps in. It's almost funny how these negotiations feel like a corporate merger gone wrong, everyone smiling through gritted teeth, hoping the other side doesn't pull a fast one. But here, the stakes are life and loot, not stock options. As the day wanes and agreement forms, trade routes will stay open. But the sacred groves are off limits, a line even Thor respects after the last raid's chaos. You watch the Bjarmians seal the pact with a ritual, tossing herbs into the fire, the smoke rising in spirals that smell of sage and secrets. The flames dance, casting shadows that twist like memories of Jamali's wrath, and you feel a shiver, not from cold but from the realization that peace here is fragile. A thread stretched, taut over a chasm. The mainstream fact grounds you. These uneasy alliances were common, with archaeological finds of Norse goods in Bjarmian sites suggesting trade often outlasted conflict. That quirky tale of warrior women adds spice, hinting at a culture where gender didn't limit ferocity. And the debate lingers. Were these pacts genuine cooperation or strategic pauses in a longer struggle? You walk back to the ship, the ground firm beneath you, the rivers murmur a soothing backdrop. The stars begin to prick the sky sharp and clear, and you lie on the deck, the ship's gentle rocking lulling you. The fire's warmth lingers in your memory, its glow a faint echo as you drift, the promise of more encounters whispering in the night's embrace, pulling you into a sleepy haze where history feels soft and alive. The ship's timbers creak beneath you as you sail away from the Bjarmian settlement, the river's gentle ripples fading into the broader expanse of the White Sea, its waters glinting like polished steel under a sky bruised with clouds. The uneasy truce with the Bjarmians lingers in your mind, their elders' sharp eyes and the faint hum of their rituals still vivid, like a half-remembered dream. You're no longer caught in the immediate tension of raids or alliances. Now, you're drifting into deeper waters, pondering the enigma of the Bjarmians themselves. Esho were these people who could terrify Vikings with a whisper and hold their own against axe-wielding raiders. The air tastes of salt and frost, and you pull your cloak tighter, the fur lining soft against your neck as you lean against a rail, gazing at the distant shoreline where forests blur into mist. The Bjarmians feel like shadows, their identity as elusive as the northern lights that flicker faintly above, weaving greens and purples through the dusk. You imagine their lives shunting through snow-laden woods, crafting canoes from birch that glide like whispers over the rivers, their voices rising in songs that blend with the wind's sigh. Were they kin to the Sami, with their reindeer herds and shamanic chants, or perhaps Permian tribes from the taiga's heart, their language a tapestry of ancient roots? Mainstream history offers clues through archaeological finds, pottery and tools unearthed along the Dvina River, dated to the Viking Age, suggesting a people tied to both Finnic and Uralic cultures, their settlements thriving on trade yet fiercely independent, like a small town that knows every outsider by name. You smirk at a quirky tidbit that surfaces in the sagas. Some Bjarmians supposedly marked their territory with carved stones that sang when struck by wind, a low moan that spooked Viking scouts into thinking spirits guarded the land. Picture stumbling across one, your torch casting flickering shadows, and hearing a rock hum like it's auditioning for a ghost chord. Talk about nature's creepiest playlist. You chuckle, imagining a Viking muttering, "Nope, I'm not paid enough for haunted pebbles," and hightailing it back to the ship. Scholars debate fiercely over the Bjarmians' origins, with some arguing they were a Finnic group, others leaning toward a Komi or Permian lineage. Their language and customs a puzzle with missing pieces. You feel that uncertainty now, standing on the deck, the sea stretching endlessly before you, its vastness mirroring the gaps in their story. Were their chants rooted in Uralic shamanism, or did they borrow from Norse ruins, twisting them into something new? You picture their villages, turf huts blending into hillsides, their fires burning low to avoid detection, the scent of smoked meat and pine resin drifting through the air. You taste the memory of their mead, its honeyed warmth a fleeting comfort against the chill. As the ship glides onward, you notice the crew sharing tales, their voices soft against the waves' rhythm, recounting Bjarmian customs. Show they honored the seasons with offerings of fish and berries, or how their elders read omens in the flight of birds. You lean back, the masked shadow falling across you, and imagine a Bjarmian child learning to trek elk through the snow, their small hands clutching a bow, guided by stories of ancestors who tamed the wild. A modern aside slips in. It's funny how we obsess over lost cultures like they're a mystery novel, when really, they were just folks living their lives, probably rolling their eyes at Viking tourists trampling their sacred groves. You wander the deck, the wood smooth under your boots, and pause by a pile of furs traded in the last parley, their softness a reminder of the wealth that defined these people. The Bjarmians weren't just mystics or warriors, they were survivors, weaving their identity into the land's fabric, rivers, forests, and skies that shaped them as much as they shaped it. You feel a pang of respect, tempered by the realization that their story is half buried, like a shipwreck swallowed by sand. The wind picks up, carrying a faint howl, and you wonder if it's those singing stones or just your imagination, stirred by the endless northern twilight. The mainstream fact holes, artifacts from the Dvina region tie the Biarmians to broader trade networks, their culture a crossroads of influences. That quirky singing stone legend adds a poetic layer, hinting at a people who used their environment as both shield and storyteller. And the debate persists. Were they a distinct tribe or a blend of peoples, their identity as fluid as the rivers they navigated? You settle on a bench, the ship's gentle sway lulling you, the stars above sharp as scattered jewels. The sea whispers secrets, its rhythm a soothing pulse that blends with your slowing breath. You picture the Biarmians watching from their shores, their figures fading into the trees as enigmatic now as they were to the Vikings. The night wraps you in its cool embrace, the horizon blurring into a sleepy haze, pulling you toward dreams of fading cultures and lingering echoes. The sea's gentle rocking fades as you step onto the frost-hardened shore once more, the white sea's icy breath curling around you like a lover's whisper, though far less warm. The Biarmian lands stretch before you, their forests now tinged with a sense of fading glory, the once vibrant pulse of their world growing faint under the weight of time and encroaching powers. You're no longer chasing raids or unraveling identities. Now you're witnessing the slow twilight of Bjarmeland, where the northern lights still dance but cast a softer glow. As if mourning a world slipping away, the air smells of damp earth and dying embers, and your boots sink slightly into the snow, each step a quiet echo in a land that feels emptier than before. You walk through a village, its huts sagging under heavy snow, fewer fires burning than you remember from earlier encounters. The Biarmians move with purpose, but their numbers seem thinner, their faces etched with the strain of a people pressed from all sides. New Paris Norse settlers, Slavic traders, and distant empires creep closer, their ships and sleds carving paths through the taiga, drawn by the same furs and ivory that once lured Vikings like Thori. Mainstream history notes this decline, with archaeological records showing a gradual shift in the 11th century as Biarmian settlements dwindled, their trade routes absorbed by expanding Novgorod and Norse colonies. Think of it as a small business swallowed by a medieval megacorp, only with more fur and fewer spreadsheets. You pause by a river bank, the water sluggish with ice, its surface reflecting a sky heavy with clouds. The Biarmians still trade, their canoes gliding past with bundles of posts, but the spark of defiance you saw in their elders' eyes feels dimmer, like a candle burning low. You taste the bitterness of change on the wind, mingled with the faint sweetness of pine, and it tugs at you, a reminder of how even the fiercest cultures can fade. A quirky tidbit surfaces, making you smile despite the mood. Some sagas claim the last Biarmian shamans hid their sacred relics in caves, sealed with chants that promised the land would protect them until the right time. I imagine stumbling on a hidden stash today, like finding a Viking-era time capsule guarded by a very annoyed spirit. Scholars debate why Bjarmeland fade. Was it conquest, assimilation, or simply the land's harshness outlasting its people's resilience? You feel that question linger as you wander deeper, passing a crumbling altar where Jamali's idol once stood, now toppled, its amber eyes gone, leaving only weathered wood staring blankly at the sky. The grove on it is silent, no hum of chants or rustle of unseen watchers, just the creak of branches under snow's weight. You kneel, brushing frost from the carvings, their lines faint but stubborn, like a memory refusing to die. The Biarmians' world feels like it's dissolving, their songs and sorcery sinking into the earth, yet the land itself holds their echo. In the whisper of wind through pines or the glint of amber washed up on the shore, you sit by a dying fire, its embers glowing faintly, and imagine the last gatherings, Hera families sharing stories of hunts and spirits, their voices soft against the encroaching dark. A modern aside slips in. It's almost funny how we romanticize lost civilizations, like they're a movie franchise that got canceled too soon, when really, they were just people adapting, blending, or moving on, their legacy scattered like seeds in the wind. You poke the fire, sparks rising like tiny farewells, and feel a pang for the Bjarmians, whose terror once stopped Vikings cold, but couldn't halt time's relentless march. The forest seems to close in, its shadows softer now, less menacing, as if the land itself is letting go. You notice tracks reindeer, perhaps, or the last wolves loyal to this place fading into the underbrush. The Bjarmians' power, their ability to weave fear and wonder, feels like a distant song, its notes carried away by the river's flow. You stand brushing snow from your cloak and walk back to the shore, the sea's rhythm a steady pulse that soothes the ache of witnessing an end. The mainstream fact anchors you. Bjarmeland's decline is traced through dwindling trade goods and abandoned sites, a slow fade into history's margins. That quirky cave legend adds a glimmer of hope, suggesting their spirit endures, hidden but not gone. And the debate persists. Did they vanish or simply transform? Their blood and stories mingling with new peoples. You lean against the ship's rail, the wood cool under your palms, and watch the horizon blur into twilight, the northern lights faint but stubborn above. The waves lap softly, their cadence lulling you, and you let the land's quiet sorrow settle over you, a blanket woven of memory and frost. Your eyes grow heavy, the stars blurring into a gentle haze, as the fading echoes of Bjarmeland pull you toward dreams of legends yet to unfold. The frost-crusted shore of Bjarmeland fades behind you as the longship pulls away, its oars slicing through the glassy water, each stroke a soft heartbeat against the silence of the white sea. You stand at the stern, your cloak heavy with damp, the scent of salt and pine lingering like a memory you can't quite shake. The land of the Bjarmians, once a place of terror and wonder, now feels like a whisper on the wind, its stories of enchanted groves and defiant warriors settling into the realm of legend. You're no longer chasing their mysteries or witnessing their decline. Now you're reflecting on the myths that endure, the tales that made even Vikings pause, their axes lowered in the face of something greater than steel. The sky above is a deep velvet pricked with stars that gleam like scattered amber, and the northern lights pulse faintly, as if bidding farewell to a world that shaped them. You lean against a rail, the wood smooth and cold, and let your mind drift to the stories that have outlived the Bjarmians themselves. These aren't just tales of sorcery or treasure. They're fragments of a people who turned their harsh land into a weapon, a shield, a song. You picture skalds in smoky longhouses, their voices weaving sagas of Jamali's wrath, of fogs that swallowed fleets, of shamans who spoke with wolves. These legends cling to the air like frost, fragile yet enduring, carried south by traders and raiders who returned with more than first stories that made listeners shiver by the firelight. Mainstream history confirms this legacy, with Norse sagas like the Heimskringla preserving Bjarmeland's mystique, their accounts of the 10th century encounters ensuring the tribe's name echoes through time, even as their villages vanish. Think of it as a medieval bestseller, passed down through generations without a single reprint. A quirky tidbit makes you smile, easing the weight of the fading north. Some tales claim the Bjarmians left runes on coastal rocks, inscriptions that glowed under moonlight, guiding their kin or cursing intruders. Imagine a Viking, half drunk on mead, squinting at a shimmering stone and muttering, "Great, now the rocks are giving me homework." You chuckle softly, the sound swallowed by the sea's murmur, picturing those runes still out there, hidden under moss, waiting for someone bold or foolish enough to read them. It's the kind of story that feels like a wink from the past, a reminder that the Bjarmians' power wasn't just in fear but in leaving traces that linger. Scholars still debate what made these legends so potent. Was it the Bjarmians' shamanic rituals, their mastery of the land, or simply the Vikings' knack for turning every setback into a supernatural epic? You feel that question ripple through you as you gaze at the horizon, where the sea meets the sky in a seamless blur. The Bjarmians' terror wasn't just in their spells or traps, it was in their ability to make the unknown feel alive, to turn a forest into a maze or a statue into a god. You taste the salt on your lips, the wind carrying a faint echo of their chants, and it wraps you in a quiet awe like hearing a song you've always known but can't quite name. The ship glides onward, the waves lapping gently, their rhythm a soothing pulse that slows your breath. You sit, pulling your cloak tighter, and let the stories settle over you soft as snow. The Bjarmians are gone, their fires cold, their groves silent, but their myths dance on, in the sagas, in the whispers of the wind, in the glow of the aurora. A modern aside slips in. It's funny how we chase these ancient tales like treasure hunters, piecing together clues from sagas and stones, as if we could bottle their magic for a podcast episode. But maybe that's the point, our story lives because we keep telling it, keep wondering. As the night deepens, the stars grow brighter, their light a gentle guide through the dark. You lie back on the deck, the ship sway a cradle, and feel the weight of history soften, its edges blurred by the sea's endless song. The mainstream fact holds, the sagas immortalized Bjarmeland, ensuring their legend outlived their land. That quirky rune story adds a spark, a hint of magic that defies time. And the debate lingers. Were the Bjarmians sorcerers, strategists, or simply survivors who knew how to spin a good tale? The air grows still, the northern lights fading to a faint shimmer, like a curtain closing on a stage. You close your eyes, the waves' rhythm blending with your slowing heartbeat, and let the stories wrap you in their warmth. A tapestry of fear and wonder woven from a forgotten tribe's defiance. The sea whispers softly, its voice a lullaby, carrying you toward dreams where shadows dance and legends breathe. The world quiets, the stars a soft glow behind your lids, and you drift, safe in the embrace of tales that linger long after the fires have gone out. Wind down, the ship rocks gently now, its motion a tender sway, like a mother cradling a child under a sky stitched with starlight. You feel the sea's embrace, its cool breath easing the last traces of Bjarmeland's mysteries from your mind, leaving only a soft hum of wonder. The northern lights have faded, their colors dissolved into the night, and the horizon stretches wide, a canvas of calm where the world feels vast yet kind. You breathe deeply, the salt air softening to a whisper, and let your thoughts drift like leaves on a quiet stream, carried toward a place of rest. The Bjarmians tell us those fierce, fleeting echoes of a people who tamed fear itself settle into your heart, not as terrors, but as lullabies. Their power now a gentle pulse that soothes rather than startles. You're safe here, wrapped in the night's embrace, the sea's song a promise that all stories, even the wildest, find peace in time. Let the waves carry you, let the stars watch over you, and sink into dreams where the north's magic glows softly forever.